Hi, it's Kevin Bates here, and today I thought I would talk a bit about my personal experience in setting up Finland's first blockchain startup company. Now, when I first went into this, I had a good technical background. I'd done a lot of inventing in previous companies. I'd read Crossing the Chasm by Geoffrey Moore, and I thought that it can't be too hard, really. You know, put your mind to anything and you can achieve it. What I didn't realize when I first went into the startup world is that it's focused on traditional quick return innovations. They are still innovations, they're still improvements over existing things, but the whole model that I experienced in Finland when I went to talk to a few VCs, when I went to startup hubs and stuff like that, was that there were a lot of people talking about, we have this new application for tracking your diet or for improving labeling on bottles of wine, or for making sinks out of recyclable materials rather than having to chop down new trees and using varnish on them. Things where you looked at it and said, yes, I can see you've moved things forward a bit, and you've got a good story and you found a market. You know, typically the market that these people were going for was the sort of young up and coming rather than the old guard, because I think that they're more willing to take on board a new upstart or challenger. But I was kind of disappointed with my blockchain experience in that what we did was we made a program that allowed you to interconnect databases using a blockchain. So you have an in-house existing database and you have another company that has their own database, and we had this idea that we could use blockchain to allow those two companies to sync select parts of their databases, and that it could extend out to multiple participants, and they could even not just share everything globally between all the participants, but do sort of a company to company sharing. And as it happened, we were way ahead of the curve, and nobody at that time was really interested in buying the solution off us. Lots of people were interested in talking to us, mainly because we were giving them free blockchain education, and there were a few companies that were willing to have a shot at a pilot, and I think that they are going to be in a better situation now because they've got an extra weapon in their arsenal for tackling problems that they didn't have before. But when it comes to building a startup in the current startup ecosystem, it's really hard if you're doing anything right on the leading edge. You cannot be 2 or 3 or 4 years ahead of the market. In fact, usually it's better for there to already be an established market and for you to have an idea where you say, we're going to be Slack but better, or we're going to be Facebook but better. Then you actually stand a chance of carving out a niche somewhere, maybe finding a group of people who much prefer what you're doing and taking your offering. But if you turn up with a tool to use a new technology that we are still getting our heads around, then you're pretty much doomed to fail, I think, unless you've got deep pockets and a lot of time and possibly an evangelical financial backer, which I guess equates to deep pockets. Anyway, I'm not bitter. I learned an awful lot from my experience with Chainfrog, and we've now settled down into a different business model, which is keep inventing leading edge blockchain stuff, keep the costs really low, and hope that our fervent belief that this blockchain technology really is going to be something amazing and important at the same level, or if not more so, than social media or telecoms or browsers and the internet. Because if we're right, then in 3 to 5 to 8 years' time, we should be doing very well. But I won't pretend that it's particularly easy at this moment in time. Anyway, a bit of my personal experiences with the startup world. Do feel free to go off and start your own startup with your own idea. Just be careful what you're picking, because it's hard to create a new market. It's impossible for a startup pretty much to create a new market. What you need to be looking at is to enter into an existing market and shift it towards what it is that you do best and what the incumbents are not bothering to engage with because they've got their working model. Why do they want to change it? So that's my take. Hope you found it interesting. See you in the next video soon. Bye for now.